Waiting for a green card? You might be stuck in line for years. But how long exactly? Is there a way to figure it out? Yes, there is. It's called the Visa Bulletin. It's impossible to predict exactly how long, but it gives everybody a basic understanding of approximately how long it's going to take for your visa to come through. In this video, I'm going to explain 7 things. What the Visa Bulletin is, why we need it. I'm going to explain some key terms that you're going to have to understand. I'll let you know if you need to be checking the Visa Bulletin or not, because not everybody does. How to read the Visa Bulletin, what causes the wait to go forward or sometimes go backward, and lastly, how you and your attorney can use the Visa Bulletin strategically. Okay, so what is the Visa Bulletin? The Visa Bulletin is a monthly report, comes out around the 10th of the month from the Department of State. It's basically a list of priorities that explain for each country and in each category how long it's going to take for your visa to be available. It has nothing to do with non-immigrant visas, and it has nothing to do with any petitions if you're a U.S. citizen and you have filed for an immediate relative. An immediate relative is a parent, a spouse, or a minor child that's unmarried. So if you've petitioned for your wife and her child, you don't have to worry about the Visa Bulletin, okay? However, if you filed for your married son or your sibling or your permanent resident and you filed for your wife or your kids, the Visa Bulletin is going to be crucial for you. It's very important to learn about it, to understand it. So the Visa Bulletin tells you who's next in line to get a green card if there's a limit on the number of visas available. With the immediate relatives, supposedly, there's no limit. So there's supposedly no wait. We all know that's not true, but the wait's very limited as opposed to if you're in a preference category. Preference categories, as I mentioned, petitions for adult children, petitions filed by permanent residents, petitions filed by U.S. citizens for siblings, and employment visas. I don't generally do employment visas. It's just not my cup of tea. So my focus is going to be on the family-based petitions. Each year, the government gives a certain number of visas, immigrant visas, out. They don't permit any country to get more than 7% of the visas. That's so that there's not like a million Chinese here or Indians here or Mexicans here. They try to limit it. That's also why, for those particular categories, as a matter of fact, Chinese, Filipino, Indian, and Mexican, there's a long wait for those cases. Those cases take longer than any other cases because more people from those countries are trying to come here. So because of these visa caps, the numeric limits, Congress created this whole system. Congress created this whole system to try and manage the backlog, okay? We need comprehensive immigration reform, just to let you know. So let's talk about some key terms that you need to know. Number 1, what is your priority date? Your priority date is the date that USCIS received that I-130 petition, or if you're doing employment, the I-140 petition. The date that they received it, that's your priority date. That is your place in line which is why throughout all these videos you're going to hear me say a million times, file as soon as you can. File as soon as you can, because it gets you in line. The cutoff date is the date that's listed on the Visa Bulletin. That's the date that supposedly is going to change every month. It doesn't always change. In fact, sometimes it stays the same for months and months. But that's the date that the government is saying they have a visa available for people who have priority dates before this particular date. So if it says June 8th, 2005, if you filed June 7th, 2005 or earlier, there's a visa finally available. Sometimes you're going to see current in the Visa Bulletin. Actually, what you see is the letter C, which stands for current. That means there's a visa available right now. Doesn't happen very often, but sometimes you'll see it. Another thing that's very confusing about the Visa Bulletin is that they have two separate charts. One is final action dates, and one is dates for filing. One tells you when USCIS or the embassy can approve your case. That's the final action one. The other tells you when you can start the process, dates for filing, which we'll discuss a little bit more in a few minutes. By the way, if you're enjoying this, if you're getting anything out of this, please hit subscribe and share it with somebody if you think this might be important for someone. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so who should be checking the Visa Bulletin? As I said, it's only going to be if you're waiting for a green card through a family-based or employment-based petition and you're not an immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. You need to be checking the Visa Bulletin. And as I mentioned before, that's U.S. citizens sponsoring their siblings. That's green card holders sponsoring their spouses and children. Employers sponsoring skilled workers. Some asylum applicants who later marry or file family petitions. But anyway, let's get into the meat of this video, all right? How the heck do you read this thing? So what you're looking at is an actual Visa Bulletin. It's from June of 2025. It gives you some idea of what this is going to look like. This is the final action dates that we're looking at. So how do you read it? Okay? How do you read it? You start by locating the right section. So you either have to be in the beginning under family-sponsored preferences, or a little bit later in the bulletin, the employment-based preferences. Then you focus on the final action dates for family-sponsored preference cases. Then, so you pick that chart, not the other one. Then find your category. For example, if you filed for your brother, go to the fourth category. So if your brother was born in Mexico or India, China, or the Philippines, go over to that country, then go down to the fourth category, and that's the priority date that the government is working with. If your brother or your relative was not born in India, Mexico, the Philippines, or China, then you just stick to the very first box, the very first line on the left. That's for everybody else. So those countries, those four countries I keep mentioning, they're called oversubscribed. There's just too many people trying to come from those countries, which is why there's such a heavy backlog. Each month, these dates move forward. Sometimes they move backwards. Sometimes they don't move at all. In my experience, once the summer hits, there's not a lot of movement. Sometimes there is, but generally speaking, you're going to see the most amount of movement in the fall. September, October, November, because that's the beginning of the government's fiscal year, and that's when all the new visas drop. So that's why there's a faster move in the fall. By the time it reaches summertime, all those visas are beginning to get used up, so they just kind of stop issuing visas because they don't have any left. So what causes those delays? One, as I mentioned, too many people trying to get here. Two are the country caps. Three, I have two other ones on here, but they're both positive. One is unused visas. If a country doesn't use their share of visas, their numbers get reallocated to other places, to other categories in other countries. So that's good. Let's say you have maybe Sweden didn't use up all their numbers. Another thing that really determines how quickly these dates change is the processing times for USCIS and for the National Visa Center, right? USCIS, by the way, is under the Department of Homeland Security. The National Visa Center is under the Department of State. They're two different animals, okay? So it depends. The faster the government moves, the faster the dates are going to move. Hopefully. And again, if this is helping you, if you're getting some value from it, please hit subscribe, share it with somebody that you think needs to see it, and hit the notifications so that you don't miss any of my other videos that come out, my content. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to talk about is using the Visa Bulletin strategically. I mean, what difference does all this make? I mean, what are you supposed to... So you see these dates and you say, okay, well, there's no visa available. So why would you do this? What do attorneys do with this? Well, first of all, it's used to plan ahead. You can get a general idea of how long all of this is going to take, right? So when you're thinking about, well, when can I file my adjustment of status? You want to be looking at the Visa Bulletin to see how close you are. When you get to be like 2-3 months away, start preparing those packages. Same thing on the other hand, if you're doing consular processing, when are you going to be able to file those affidavits of support? The DS-260, getting all your civil documents together, making sure that you have everything that you're going to need to process as soon as there's a visa available. And again, that you're going to be looking at the chart that's talking about the filing, okay? Not the final action, but the filing. Thinking about whether or not you want to travel. Let's say you're getting close to your date, you might not want to be traveling because even though it's been moving 2 weeks every month, trust me, the day you decide, okay, well, I still have a couple of weeks here, I'm going to take a month's vacation over in Costa Rica. The minute you do that, they're going to jump ahead 2 months. And now you're outside the country and you're supposed to be doing things and you're not prepared. So basically, I just wanted to explain that Visa Bulletin to you. I know it seems confusing, but it's really not. You have to figure out what your category is if you're F1, F2, 2A or 2B, F3 or F4. You have to figure out what country you need to be looking at. Always understand what your priority date is. It's the date. It's on the receipt that you got. And it's just called the receipt date. It's not the notice date. It's date of receipt. That is your priority date. So I hope you got something out of this. Please hit subscribe if you like it. And I'll see you next time.